Your body knows something is wrong before you do. The pain comes in waves now, closer together. There is no hospital, no doctor, no epidural, just you, a fire, and the women who came before you. For most of human history, this was not a worst-case scenario. This was simply how every single person alive arrived into the world. Today, childbirth in a wealthy country happens in a sterile room, surrounded by monitors, with a trained physician on call. For roughly 300,000 years, it happened on the ground, in a hut, or under a tree, surrounded by other women who had done this before. So how did the human species survive its own most dangerous moment, generation after generation, with nothing but fire, plants, and each other? The answer starts with a problem your body has carried since before you were even human. Around 2 million years ago, early hominins began walking upright on two legs. Walking upright meant narrower hips, because a wide pelvis makes bipedal walking inefficient. At almost the same time, the human brain was getting larger, which meant babies needed bigger heads to fit that brain, a narrower pelvis, a bigger head. Two evolutionary pressures pulling in opposite directions, both trying to solve the same skeleton. Anthropologists call this collision the obstetrical dilemma, a term coined by Sherwood Washburn in 1960. It is the plain English explanation for why human birth is so much harder and so much riskier than birth in almost any other primate. A chimpanzee gives birth in minutes, often alone, and simply lifts the newborn to her chest. A human birth can take 12 hours, sometimes much longer, and the baby usually arrives facing away from the mother, in a way that makes self-delivery extremely difficult. That last detail matters more than it sounds. Anthropologist Wenda Trevathan studied the mechanics of human birth and noticed something that doesn't happen with other apes. Because the human baby's head rotates as it moves through the birth canal, it tends to emerge facing backward, away from the mother. If she tries to catch and pull the baby herself, she risks bending its spine the wrong way. This is one of the reasons researchers believe humans evolved an instinct toward assisted birth, not a hospital, not a doctor, just another set of hands. This is where the popular image of the lone caveman starts to fall apart. Birth, for nearly all of human history, was a social event. Cross-cultural research backs this up almost everywhere anthropologists have looked. In studies of foraging societies, including the long-term fieldwork by Richard Lee among the Jew, Hoansi, and the Kalahari, birth was rarely something a woman faced completely alone. Older women, often grandmothers or experienced mothers, served the role we would now call a midwife or doula, offering physical support, reassurance, and practical knowledge passed down through direct experience rather than written texts. So let's reconstruct what this actually looked like. Picture a woman in labor, somewhere in East Africa, 50,000 years ago. She is not lying flat on her back. Most ethnographic accounts of pre-industrial birth describe upright, squatting, or kneeling positions, which use gravity to help the baby descend and open the pelvis slightly wider than lying down ever could. Around her are 1 or 2 older women. They have done this before, maybe a dozen times, for themselves and for others. They know which plants ease pain. They know how long is too long. They know when to worry. A fire burns nearby, both for warmth and for light if the birth happens at night. There may be a particular plant being chewed or brewed, something passed down through generations of trial and error, long before anyone understood the chemistry behind why it worked. Archaeological and ethnobotanical research has identified dozens of plant species used across different cultures specifically to ease labor pain or encourage contractions. some of which modern pharmacology has since confirmed contain active compounds that do exactly that. This was not guesswork. It was accumulated knowledge, refined over thousands of years, held in the memory of women rather than in any book. And it had to be good knowledge, because the stakes were enormous. Skeletal evidence from sites studied by paleoanthropologists, including analysis of pelvic remains from early Homo specimens, shows just how tight the fit between baby and birth canal really was, even tens of thousands of years before modern humans. Estimates drawn from historical and pre-modern population data suggest maternal mortality during childbirth was often in the range of 1 to 2% per birth. And since women in foraging and early agricultural societies might give birth 5, 6, 7 times across their lives, the cumulative risk over a lifetime could climb dramatically higher. That number is almost unimaginable today. In the wealthiest countries now, maternal mortality is measured in single digits per 100,000 births, not per 100. The gap between those two numbers is not really about toughness or biology changing or ancient women being somehow less capable. It is almost entirely about access, clean tools, antiseptics, the ability to intervene surgically when the obstetrical dilemma tips the wrong way. Here is the twist that tends to surprise people. We often imagine that progress in childbirth came from medicine alone, doctors and hospitals slowly replacing primitive folk superstition. But anthropologist Karen Rosenberg's research on the evolution of human birth points to something different. The presence of an attendant at birth is not a modern invention layered on top of an ancient instinct to go it alone. It may be one of the oldest support behaviors in the human lineage, possibly stretching back over 1 million years. The midwife, in some form, might be almost as old as upright walking itself. In other words, ancient humans did not survive childbirth despite having no medicine. They survived it because they had something medicine has only recently learned to value again: continuous, hands-on, experienced human support throughout labor. Modern clinical research has actually circled back to this. Multiple studies on continuous labor support, including reviews published in medical journals over the past few decades, have found that women who have a consistent, dedicated support person throughout labor tend to have shorter labors, fewer complications, and better outcomes than those who do not. The ancient midwife sitting by the fire and the modern doula standing beside a hospital bed are doing something remarkably similar. So when you picture an ancient birth, picture it accurately, not a desperate, solitary struggle in the dirt, a circle, a fire, hands that have done this before. Knowledge passed mother to daughter, generation after generation, refined the hard way, through loss as much as through success. That circle is, in a strange way, still with you. The instinct toward companionship during one of life's most vulnerable moments did not disappear when hospitals appeared. It got pushed aside for a while. Then research quietly proved what those ancient women already knew through experience. Nobody should have to do this alone. Your body knows something is wrong before you do. And so it turns out your species has known for a very long time exactly what to do about it. Not with machines, not with monitors, with each other.